Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Eric Kerr, the new football coach at Weber State. How about that? The Corner Canyon coach makes the jump. I don't know if it'll work or not. I think it will. I expect that it will. Obviously, no guarantees. It's definitely worth a chance. Even if it blows up, I'm going to look back and say, it was worth taking a shot. I don't think it'll blow up. I think it'll work. How well will it work? I don't have a good way to judge that. Montana State in their league, they're playing in the semifinals of the NCAA tournament this week. I mean, the top of the league is really good. Now, obviously, Jay Hill had an awesome run at Weber State, and they were in a national semifinal, and they were in the tournament multiple times, a couple of other quarterfinal runs. So we'll see where it goes, but it's really intriguing. I want to see how his system does at the college level. It'll do well, I think. Will it do very well? Will it be great? That part, I think, is to be determined. All right, also last night, the Utah Mammoth get beat in Boston 4-1. Mike Folta, the radio voice, joined us yesterday. Radio voice of the Utah Mammoth joined us before the game. Obviously, we didn't know how that was going to go, but a bigger trend, how things are going in December for the Mammoth. Here's Mike on the zone. Mike, good morning.
DJ, good morning. I'm here at TD Garden in beautiful Boston, and I'm sitting at a bar here at the rink getting ready for morning skate. If you see me put this to my lips, it is canned water. It is not an alcoholic beverage. I don't want anybody thinking I'm getting after it this early, but I have a beautiful view of what I think is the Charles River, watching the oyster farmers haul in with their fresh catch of the day. And we're getting ready for a second game of a 3-game road trip here against the Boston Bruins. So all is well. Good to see that that PK is cashing in that PTO a little early here on getting ready for the holidays, huh?
Exactly. I think he did connect with a little bit of family and all that. So I think he's getting ahead of the holiday curve right there. Now, when you look out the window, are you looking at the bridge in Bunker Hill?
There are multiple bridges. I don't see any redcoats retreating, so
okay.
I cannot confirm that it's Bunker Hill or not.
Neither confirm nor deny. That's worth the walk if you have time in the middle of the day.
I did do the Freedom Trail this summer, and I'm a big history guy, and it is very cool to walk around. You can see like the Old North Church and stuff, but I made the mistake of thinking that everything was going to be kind of condensed like in one area. And as I walked throughout the Freedom Trail, I soon realized that no, this is really spread out all across Boston and Charlestown. And I walked about 21,000 miles before lunch that day. So I was not a happy camper. And I was not wearing like walking clothes. I was in like khakis and like a dress shirt. And because I was there for a wedding, and it was 85% humidity. I just come from Utah where there's no humidity, and so I was not loving life.
Cooking yourself right there. That's what you were doing. You know who else is cooking right now? How about Dylan Guenther? How many OT game winners? What should the over-under be for the season for him? What do you think?
I mean, he's on pace for like 7 right now, probably. Just doing some quick Purdue math off the top. But he's got 3, and we're 30-something games into an 82-game schedule. He's got 3 game winners, and he had another one on Sunday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And what was a crazy come-from-behind win for Utah in that game. And I tell you what, DJ, like when Guenther has the puck on his stick in those big moments, it feels like, it feels like Mahomes, or that's a bad example now, I guess, but like Tom Brady when he's got the ball with 2 minutes left to go win the game. And I'm not comparing Guenther to these Hall of Famers. I'm just saying it's that same feeling you get when he gets the puck on his stick in a big moment. You're thinking like, all right, this one's in the bag. You can call in the dogs, put out the fire. This one's over. Like Gunther's going to go win it right now. Dating back to last year, he has more game-winning goals than anybody else since the start of last year, and he's only 22 years old. So he has that clutch gene, and I think more than anything, he's the guy that wants the puck on his stick in those big moments.
In basketball, there's an expression, swing, swing. And so that's where you get the ball and defense is running at you, and what it means is 2 passes, you swing to the other side of the court, you're going to get a wide-open shot. And you can see fans have heard that so much that fans know it. And I'm curious because you said when Guenther has the puck on his stick, because I think he's at his best moments, whatever the hockey, and I don't know what the hockey lingo would be for swing, but when they move the puck to the other side of the rink, and he's already, man, the arms are up, the stick is in the air, like, I know what's going to happen, right? He's going to hit that thing as hard as he can, and he's probably going to put it on target, and just the only question is, reaction time for whoever's in goal. So,
yeah,
would you rather
you're talking about the
stick?
one-timer on the power play, right?
Well, the one-timer on the power play is a thing of beauty. Yeah. So, would you rather have it on his stick, or would you rather have the puck on the other side of the ice thinking, here it comes? Maybe he hasn't even cocked and loaded yet, but it's coming. Or is he more dangerous with the puck on his stick?
That one-timer has been so effective for him on the power play for Utah. And what we saw in November when Utah struggled on the power play was that teams had started to cheat towards him. And penalty kills had started to really focus on him. And that made it hard for Utah's power play to get going because he had like three guys in front of him when he's trying to unleash one of those slap shots. I think he leads the league. I believe he leads the league with 6 slap shot goals, which includes those one-timers that he's firing on the power play. So that's just one of the best shots in the league right now is a Dylan Guenther slap shot. But he's also made a concentrated effort this season to score in a variety of ways. And we've seen that, like him going to the net hard and using his underrated speed to create space as well. So I think it would be bad for us to discount the other ways that he can score outside of just that one timer that everybody thinks about with him. It's like that Ovechkin shot, right? As a right-handed shot on the left circle, shooting the one timer from there. But he scored a variety of ways this year. He scored on breakaways. He's able to change his release angle on the shot. I equate it to like a basketball player being able to shoot off platform or off balance and still connect. He can kind of do that too, where even when he's not in that full windup, if he's just shooting a wrist shot per se, he can change the angle at the last moment to fool goalies. And it's not always as much the speed with which he beats goalies on the shot, but a lot of times it's that angle that changes at the last second, which alters the geometry of the whole play for these goalies. 15 goals on the year for Gunner. He now leads the team in that category and is on pace for a career year.
When it's 3-0, are you breaking out stories figuring this is over, or are you sitting there thinking, Thurl Bailey, the TV analyst for the Jazz, has a phrase whenever you start talking to him about big, he lets his voice break on purpose. Thurl has a super deep voice. If you ever hear him sing an anthem or something like that, it's unbelievable. But he'll go, it could happen. It could happen, which is his way of saying, yeah, it could happen. It's not going to happen. Calm down, DJ. So were you thinking it could happen, or were you thinking, you never know?
We definitely thought it could happen because the day before for Pittsburgh, they had played the day before. They had played Saturday. Utah played them Sunday. The day before on Saturday, the Penguins had blown a 5-1 lead in the third period. And they had actually blown third period leads in 3 straight games coming into Sunday's game. And so we were thinking, like, we got a chance here. And up to that point through 2 periods, the Mammoth had been outplaying Pittsburgh, even though the goal, the scoreboard didn't reflect that. But the Mammoth have been getting way more shots, way more high danger chances. And so you felt pretty good about the team's game, even though they didn't have anything to show for it. And I told our producer, Will Trebshaw, on Hockey Day in Utah, I was like, all right, guys, if I'm going to start the third period like the comeback has started. And then if it gets better, if it doesn't get any better, or if it stays the same, if it stays 3-0, or if it gets worse, then, yeah, we'll start telling jokes. But we got that first goal just over a minute into the third period to start the comeback. And talking with Penguins personnel after the game, they were saying, oh yeah, once the Mammoth made it 3-1, we knew it was over. We knew the comeback was on. And so they had that inkling of doom, whereas at 3-1, I wasn't quite like all the way in, but going off of past results for Pittsburgh, we knew that we had a chance.
They're doing all this without Cooley. Do you have any update on his timeline, how he's doing? I don't know if you get to interact with players who are rehabbing that much. What can you tell people?
Yeah, the team announced that he's going to be or he's going to be out for at least 8 weeks. And when that was announced, which was a week ago, that basically created this timeline of the Olympics for Cooley to potentially come back. And so we're expecting him to be out at least until that Olympic break, which starts in early February. And so when it was announced, those 8 weeks basically take you all the way up until the Olympic break. And then that Olympic break gives Cooley a little bit more cushion to rehab and come back. And it's a bummer for a lot of our training staff because the broadcasters during this 3-week Olympic break, like, I'm going to be in Mexico. I'm going to go home, relax, like shut off the brain for a little bit. But we have a bunch of guys who are going to be practicing, rehabbing, things like that over the break. So our poor trainers and equipment staff, they are basically like on the clock during the break. So there's not really an off time for them. Those guys are the glue across the NHL that keeps everybody held together, the trainers and the equipment staff. So props to them because they're going to be working with Cools during the break to try and get Utah's star back for that last push of the year. 25 games after the Olympic break. So as long as Utah's in the mix up until then in February, like, they'll have a chance to make the postseason.
The postseason race, I mean, there's a bunch of teams clumped together. There's so far to go. I don't know how much to read into that. I don't know if you want to read into that. If you think there's anybody in that group you think is destined to pull away, maybe somebody's in that group you think is destined, to drop to the bottom and won't stay in that group. And the other thing that's influencing this right now is the team is clearly so much better at home than they are on the road. And they played so many more road games than home games. So you factor those things in. Where do you think this race is going?
Well, I think the schedule definitely gets better for the Utah Mammoth after Christmas. Since the second week of November all the way up until Christmas, this team is in the middle of a stretch right now of 21 games in 37 days. So just quickly off the top, that's playing every other day with a bunch of back-to-backs thrown in. That's tough. And especially in Utah's division right now, which I think is fair to say is the group of death in the NHL. You've got Colorado, who's the best team in the league by far. You have a Dallas team that was one of the odds-on favorites to win the Cup at the start of the year and is still right there. Then you have Minnesota team that just traded for Quinn Hughes, who's one of the best defensemen in the world. Those are the three teams that are currently in front of Utah right now. And it would be really tough for the Mammoth to catch any one of those three, I think. But Utah is currently just outside of the playoff picture by like a tiebreaker. But they have the same amount of points as the teams that are inside those wild card spots. The Mammoth are where they need to be. And kind of our notion heading into this year was like, just get through this tough part of the schedule up until Christmas. Just stay in the race, stay within striking distance through Christmas, because it's been a really tough schedule from November into December with all the road games that you mentioned. That's a huge factor. Mm-hmm. This schedule is going to get much more Mountain Blue friendly come March and April, when the team's going to be at home a bunch and there's going to be a bunch of Central Division games on the back half of the schedule, which will be opportunities for Utah to make hay in the standings. So this team is in a fine spot right now. It was not the November that anybody wanted, where Utah had the worst points percentage in the league. But the team already has as many wins here in the month of December as they had in November. Things are looking up. And even though you don't have Logan Cooley, this team has now strung together several performances where they're playing the way they need to, even if they're not getting the results. And this has always been a process-oriented group under head coach Andre Turney. And that process is going to start swinging back in their favor once we get more home games and once the schedule opens up a little bit after the holidays.
Well, I like what you said about group of death, because with Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota, they have 3 of the top 4 point totals in the league, and they're all packed in the same division. So catching those 3 is a tall task, but all those other teams, whether it's Edmonton, San Jose, the LA Kings, whoever, all bunched up there, and someone will rise and someone will fall. We'll see what happens with the with that home road split, because this back to back here is road games 21 and 22, and they've only played 14 home games. So pretty lopsided there. The big moves, you mentioned one of the trades. There have been a couple big moves here, and actually we've had a general manager fired. Anything happen around the league that really catches your eye that you will think have an impact on the Mammoth? How does it everything comes back to the old joke. How does it affect me, Al Franken?
Well, it's hard not to start with the trade that the Minnesota Wild made to acquire Quinn Hughes from the Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes is, I think, pretty safe to say the second best defenseman in the NHL behind Colorado's Cale Makar. And so now you essentially have the three best defensemen in the NHL, all in one division, all in Utah's division. Cale Makar of Colorado, Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars, and now Quinn Hughes of Minnesota. So Bill Guerin, who's the general manager for the Minnesota Wild, is really pushing his chips towards the middle to try and vault Minnesota into championship contention. They've been a playoff team the last several years, but they haven't necessarily been in that upper crust of the Western Conference. And now adding a player like Quinn Hughes, that totally changes. Utah has been very good against Minnesota dating back to last year. The Mammoth have never lost to the Wild in regulation. They lost to them in a shootout once last year, but they beat them 4 out of the 5 times they played them, including a game this year when the Mammoth just boat raced Minnesota up in St. Paul. So you have to think that those figures have a chance at changing, with Minnesota getting a lot better on the back end. So that's going to make it tougher for Utah. And it kind of, I don't want to say it cements the Mammoth into a wild card spot, but it makes it really hard for Utah to get anything better than a wild card spot in the playoffs, just because they're already 8 points back of Minnesota as we wake up this morning. Minnesota just became a better team, and you would need either injuries or, a coach getting fired essentially for the Mammoth to take one of the top 3 spots in the Central Division. So those 3 teams are all going for it right now. The good news is that Utah has been really good against the best teams in the Central. They've beat Colorado this year, not many teams can say that in the NHL this season. They beat Colorado. They should have beat Dallas. They lost by 1 goal. They beat Winnipeg, was the President's Trophy winning team from a year ago. They've slipped a little bit right now. Hellebuck's injured, but Utah beat Winnipeg when Hellebuck was healthy. So that was one of the better wins of the year. And they've beat Minnesota. So of those 4 teams that are kind of at the top of the Central Division with Utah, the Mammoth have beat 3 of them, and the other one, Dallas, they lost by 1 goal. They should have won. So Utah is stacked up really well against the best teams in the Central. It's just a matter of doing that consistently and taking care of business against the other teams on your slate, and that means trying to pick up some more points on this road trip.
All right, well, Boston and Detroit back-to-back. You enjoy that. And if you have time, you don't want to be walking around town. If you have time, that 1-hour bus tour that loops you to all the sites where you can just sit and not break a sweat, ask for the driver, Vinny from the North End. I was on that, and Vinny from the North End, he's got patter, he's got jokes, he's got nonstop. So,
Yeah, there's no way Vinny from the North End doesn't have a wicked Boston accent, too, I bet.
Wicked. One of his deals is that there's the Boston Commons, and there's basically a huge cemetery in the middle of downtown. So he pulls up and he points out Samuel Adams' grave, second president. And then he points over, no, that was John Adams, wrong Adams. But anyways, he points out Samuel Adams' grave, founding father. And then he points out this famous bar in Boston. He says, that's the one place where you can sit and you can drink a cold Sam Adams while you look out at a cold Sam Adams. That's the kind of stuff Vinny's just doing. And he's got something for every stop. He's got his patter. He's got his whole. At one point, I was sitting like 4 seats back, and I'm killing time on a road trip, right? I was like, bum, and he picks up and goes, that was good. Do that again. he wanted to see
I am all in for bus tours. Like, sign me up for a bus tour any day of the week.
You got an hour to kill in the middle of the day for sure, right? After the skate, before the game. Got your homework done. Mike, we appreciate it as always. Enjoy the road trip. We'll see you back here in Utah.
All right, TDJ.
All right, there's Mike Folta. Now, they went on to lose after he did that interview yesterday. They went on to lose 4-1 last night. We'll get to the best of the postgame show next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Mammoth fall in Boston last night. The Bruins beat them 4-1. Let's get to the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Mammoth got off to a nice start on Tuesday night in Boston. An early power play goal gave them a 1-0 lead, and after one, it was a 1-1 game after the Bruins tied it up with a power play goal of their own. Utah outshot Boston 11-6, 5-on-5. 13-7 overall in the period. Out-attempted them 27-13. Started feeling a lot like that Pittsburgh game where Utah out-attempted the Penguins 78-30. But in the second period, the Bruins scored 23 seconds in, and then 42 seconds after that, Utah took a penalty, and the Mammoth were really never able to regroup the rest of the way. It was a 2-1 game for over 30 minutes. Mammoth had a couple power plays trying to tie it before the Bruins added a pair in the third period, and they beat the Mammoth by a count of 4-1. For Utah, that power play's going. Now 6 for the last 23. That's over 25% in their last 8 games after it kind of struggled a bit in November, but back and rolling it was again, and it was the second unit again for the Mammoth. It was Barrett Hayton making it 1-0 in the first.
Hayton, left wing, down to the 20-year-old boot. Dursey straight away, dials one up. Hayden scores! Barrett Hayton walks one in off the setup from Sean Dursey. And the Mammoth are out to a 1-0 start. The second unit scores again, a power play goal.
But as we said, periods 2 and 3 for Utah were a bit of a struggle. Just 8 shots in the final 40 minutes against a Boston team that's got some of the biggest defensemen in the league. They've got the heaviest defensive core and the third tallest. And they held Utah to just 5-on-5 shots and 8 shots overall in the final 40 minutes, outshooting the Mammoth by a count of 16-8, just not able to generate really anything more. So they'll split the season series against Boston, which is pretty respectable. The Bruins now in the season, a record of 20-14. They've won 7 of 10, and they've won 17 of 25 after they started the year 3-6, which included a 3-2 defeat at the Delta Center in October. So the Mammoth going to head to Detroit. They'll be there tonight. It's a 5:30 face-off on TNT, so we'll have your only local broadcast on Hockey Night in Utah on the radio on the air at 4:30. Karel Vejmelka will be back in between the pipes after Vitek Vanacek started for the Mammoth on Tuesday night, and the light is finally at the end of the tunnel for Utah. If they get a win, they can make it 2 or 3 on the trip, come back above 500, and potentially be back in that wild card spot in the Western Conference after starting the season with over 60% of their games on the road. Tuesday night, Utah hit the second half of their road schedule in only their 35th game of the year, and starting on Friday against New Jersey, over 60% of their games the rest of the way will be at home. 27 of 46 contests at the Delta Center, and after tonight, Utah will have played 7 of their 11 back-to-backs on the season. So schedule starting to get a little friendlier for Utah, just looking to push one over the top and bring home 4 out of a possible 6 points on this trip, and 2 of 3 tonight in Detroit. Head coach Andre Tourigny wasn't particularly enthralled after the game about that 4-1 contest. Let's hear from him afterwards.
Not happy about the way we react after the first period, and I think we were not physical enough, defensively, and offensively. We did not win enough battle, and we didn't get below their goal lines enough. We tried to play in front of them, and that's why they shut us down.
Hayton mentioned it was the details that kind of slipped towards the end of that first. What did you see in terms of the details that you wanted to clean up, I guess, for the rest of the game?
That was a message after the first. We dominate, and we start to feel too comfortable. The level of urgency went down a little bit. We warned them, but obviously they score right away from the get-go, so that's unfortunate.
Do you want to see more accountability when it comes to that in the moment as opposed to reflecting on it after the fact?
Well, I want more ownership. I don't know if it's accountability or ownership. I think we knew. We're in their building. We dominate the first period the way we did. We knew they would push back. So there's one thing to say it in the room. There's one thing to knowing it. It's another thing to buckle up and to push back and be ready for their answer and just double down on their answer instead to kind of be the victim of their push.
Quick turnaround, another game tomorrow. What can this team do in this next 24 hours to reset and then go into that game strong?
Yeah, we'll address it. First, sometimes, you need to let it hurt a little bit. It's not just the loss, it's the way we lose it. I don't like it. So I think when you play against those kind of team who are physical, down low, you need to be able to answer the bell, and we didn't.
On a deeper level, what does accountability and ownership kind of look like after a loss like this?
Well, first of all, I think like I said, you need to. That has to hurt a little bit, you know what I mean? It's, but at the same time, we're playing tomorrow, so if you go too low, it will be tough to climb it for tomorrow. So I think you need to let it hurt and then be professional, be mature, and assess what we could have done better, fix it, and get at it tomorrow and push back.
Barrett Hayton getting his fourth of the year, his second on the power play from Sean Durzi, who now has 3 points in 4 games. Daniil Boot now has his first NHL scoring streak with a point in 2 straight games. We heard from Barrett Hayton after the contest.
So after we talked, obviously, in the first, you guys had a great first period. Where do you see the difference between that first period and the way the rest of the game went?
Yeah, I think even in kind of last 5 minutes of the first period, we had instances where details just slipped a little bit. Obviously, it didn't bite us there, and we had a push in the first. But those are the things that it creeps in, and if you don't kind of cut that off right away, it costs you, and it's frustrating being here talking about that right now.
We've talked a lot about emotion on the bench, especially in games of adversity. Where was the emotion on the bench in the second and the third towards the end of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think emotionally and all that, we were in it, we were fighting, but I think it's just those details. I don't think it was really something emotion-wise. I think it's just just locking those in, and yeah, I mean, it's frustrating right now. Yeah.
That second power play unit continues to find success back-to-back games with the goal. Yours tonight. Can you just tell us what's going well with that unit right now?
Yeah, I think we had some good movement there in Pittsburgh. Just found some rotations, being interchangeable, always having a guy at the net and kind of having an attack mindset. I thought we did a really good job on that first power play. It's tough, though. We got a big power play there at the start of the third, and we get out there and we didn't execute. And those are the moments we want to be in, and we want to come up big for this group. And yeah, it's frustrating not getting that done.
It's a quick turnaround, though. You have a chance to redeem yourselves tomorrow night. What do you want this team to focus on in this quick turnaround to make sure you come out with 2 points tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow night's a huge one. We need to rebound quick and be all in on that game. We got to be locked in from the get-go. A lot of urgency, and yeah, it's a huge one.
Rebound.
How can you guys do a better job at managing energy? Obviously, a hot start, but then kind of cooled off.
I think a lot goes into that. I think some of those decisions and execution and working for each other to kind of help support that execution makes a big difference. I think obviously energy-wise, we have no excuse there. We've taken care of ourselves to be prepared on that aspect. I think it's just managing the game better so we can kind of tilt the ice. I think that's a big thing in games, and a big thing we've talked about in the second period in general, just managing it. Obviously, long change, you can really tilt the ice in the second period with that. You can get lines turned over and try to get them pinned down. I think in the first period we did a really good job working below the goal line, keeping that puck moving. Obviously, they're a team with some big bodies in the back end. They pin well, they play heavy, but we need to move the puck quick, support quick, win those battles, and get to the net front. So I think that's kind of a big thing, just managing that, and that's really what it comes down to. I don't think it's per se like an energy thing or something like that.
Where do you want to see this group hold each other accountable going into the next game?
Yeah, I mean, we got to look ourselves in the mirror first and foremost. You got to take accountability for your actions and doing everything you can for this group to win, and that's a huge thing. We'll do that tonight and reset. Like I said, tomorrow's a huge game.
Thank you.
So as we said, back at it coming up tonight, 5:30. The puck will drop with Mike Folta and Nick Olczyk, nationally televised on TNT. And the pregame coverage with Hockey Night in Utah at 4:30. And our latest edition of Mammoth Daily has dropped. We're with you Monday through Friday, and we've got our Wednesday Odd Man Rush in today's episode. We'll talk with John Marino. Mike will give us his morning after following last night's game in Boston, and we'll look ahead to tonight against Detroit on Apple, Spotify, the Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SEG Plus. Plus, anywhere you get your podcast. DJ and PK, have a good Wednesday, and we'll be back tomorrow to hopefully recap a victory from Detroit.
There is the best of the postgame show. When we come back, we're talking Utah Jazz basketball with Ben Anderson. They're 4-2 in their last 6. They're 5-3 in their last 8. They're winning a lot. What's more important, winning games, developing players, or holding on to that draft pick? Because right now it looks like they can't do both. Stay with us. That's next. Ben Anderson now sitting in for the final hour of the show. Thank goodness. I'm going through withdrawals. There's been no one here to tell me I'm wrong, no one here to tell me an idiot, no one to point out what I'm obviously missing. I feel like I've gone through like some kind of 6-day cleanse here without PK. And tomorrow, it's on. But why wait? An hour right now. What am I missing? What's gone wrong? Let's start with your Utah Jazz.
Mine?
Yes.
I cover the team.
Not in the... Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so you are therefore responsible for explaining each and every move they make.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to figure it out myself.
No, you're a Utah lifer. And the Jazz are in the DNA of the community. That's really what I was getting at. And you grew up... where'd you go to high school?
Highland High School.
Highland High.
Good week for us. Shout out Morgan Scally.
A Highland Ram is calling the shots up on the hill.
Hey, buddy. If you need any of your old high school friends, come to work. We didn't go to high school together. I missed him by a few years.
Yeah. I watched the Jazz play last night, and I thought, am I seeing this? Is this real? The Jazz have now won 4 out of 6. They have won 5 out of 8. They are too good to tank, but I don't know that means they're any good. When you beat a team like Dallas, which might be in tank mode itself.
They were tanking.
I think the Mavs might be interested in pairing A.J. DeBonsa with Cooper Flagg. That would be a pretty imposing duo.
The Mavs are interesting. They only have this pick this year for the foreseeable future. They mortgaged everything else to build around Luka Doncic, so they recognize this is their last chance to get a guy of that ilk to pair with Cooper, and otherwise they're going to have to do it with whatever they get in an Anthony Davis trade. Mm-hmm. And Derek Lively comes back next year after his injury, and they're going to build with that core, which is very good.
They're going to find worker bees.
But yeah,
they're going to have to find late picks who work their way into being very good basketball players. But this is a chance to get a transcendent talent.
And the nice thing is they already have the guy that everyone's looking to get. You have to have a top 10 player in the NBA to win, and they have Cooper Flagg, and he's going to get there.
And now they're getting greedy.
Yeah.
Now they'd like to have 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA. So as the Jazz excel offensively during that game, I'm thinking, are they really that good? Because I've seen them play good teams in the NBA. It didn't look anything like this. Now, at some point, young teams figure it out. And sometimes they figure it out all at once and they take big jumps. It doesn't have to be a gradual, straight-line graph. So I'm curious what you think. How much are they figuring out? Because that was a 39-point performance for Keontae, followed by now a 37-point performance against Dallas. How much is he figuring it out, and how much is it, hey, once you take all the 7-footers off the floor, it's easier to score over the 6'9" and 6'10" guys?
I am of the opinion that what Keontae's doing is extraordinarily legitimate. I've bought in, and I have been skeptical about it because I remember the last 2 years, and I saw the flashes, and then you would see a downturn. And there might still be a couple of stretches here where he doesn't play superbly well, but he's answered all of his bad games with seemingly even better games.
The best thing I saw about him was a couple weeks ago when they played that back-to-back with Houston. And I thought the bad habits of the first 2 years were on full display in the first game. And there was a particularly difficult stretch that was brutal. And the next day, bang, he was back. It's like, so the ability to sit down and say, now, as he gets deeper in his career, hopefully he'll figure that out at halftime. And then he'll figure it out after a quarter.
Yeah.
And then he'll figure it out while he's on the court and it's happening.
Yeah, before the game. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you want that. But I did think, okay, that mattered. That he could turn it around the next night and all the bad habits were gone. And there are a bunch of good habits and he had a much stronger performance.
And here's why I buy some of what Keontae's doing. I'm just doing some quick math here. And look, this is somewhat oversimplified. When your good players play well, your team wins. But
do the good players play that well? And Filipowski had a really strong game. I mean, he scored it.
And Lauri Markkanen played well. But you know what? The Jazz haven't always won when Lauri Markkanen scores big points. And not every team wins when their younger players score big points. No, here's the numbers on Keontae.
One guy can't get it done, but they had 6 guys in double figures, and they had 3 guys over 20.
Jazz have played 25 games now. They're 10 and 15 on the season. When Keontae's below 20 points per game, or in a game, the Jazz are 2 and 8. When he's above 20, the Jazz are 8 and 7. When he's above 30, again, when you have a guy score 30, your team's more likely to win. It's not that difficult, but the fact that it is actually mattering when it's on the floor,
right.
The Jazz are 5 and 1 when Keontae scores 30 or more. Meaning, he's doing these in big games. He's doing these in real games. And when he is playing well, it's impacting winning, which is something that is not always the case.
And there's the other end of the floor, where defensively I thought they were a complete mess to start the game. They gave up 43 points in the first quarter, and they never did get their arms around Cooper Flagg. I mean, he just kept going. But in the second half, 24 points in the third, 30 in the fourth. I can live with that. Mm-hmm. That's winnable. But again, I felt like the whole game was distorted. It was like funhouse mirrors. I felt like I was at the carnival. Everything was distorted because you don't have rim protectors at either end. The lane's wide open. The message from the coaches is attack. And to the credit of the Jazz coaches and the young guys, however the coaches delivered the message, it was heard from the very first play. Ace Bailey, don't be late to the game.
Yeah.
The best 15 seconds were the first 15 seconds. That jumper, that was clunky. And it comes hard off the rim. And he never stops moving, never gives up the play, and grabs the rebound with one hand and throws it down. It's like, that's why you go to NBA games. Even if you don't know anything, there is a level of skill and athleticism in this game you don't get that many places in the world. And you get it at NBA games. And that was awesome. I can watch a game quiet. I was sitting with 2 people. I think I scared them.
Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah.
And they didn't have to be looking when it happened. They were looking at food.
It was a very enjoyable game. It was a very entertaining game.
But is it real? Or they're played a team in the bottom third of the league and they're tanking, so how much should I put into this? Because when they play a team in the top third, when you get to the playoffs, the whole championship thing we talk about, you usually have to beat 3 of the top 10 teams in the league in the playoffs. You might get an easy first rounder. Maybe.
They're not ready to do that. Breaking.
Slow down. I'm taking notes.
They are just clearly better than the worst team in the NBA and probably better than the 5 or 6 worst teams in the NBA. And that puts them right on the cutting edge of how do you hold on to this draft pick. And what was interesting about last night's game was despite the fact that they won, they went into this game with the design of holding on to their draft pick. And by the way, this was not the first time this season. I would go back to 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn when they sit Yusuf Nurkic, and he had a rib injury, but they also choose to sit Kevin Love in that same game when Kevin Love could have just played. Yes, he only plays one end of a back.
But they could have flipped it.
They could have flipped it. And he probably wanted to play in Madison Square Garden. He probably wanted to play against the Knicks. I totally get that. But you just say, hey, man, we're paying your paycheck. We need you to play against the Nets because we don't have a player.
They thought maybe they could lose to the Nets.
But they thought they could lose to the Nets, and that would be a good loss.
And they didn't.
And they didn't. And then they thought, well, we could probably lose to the Dallas Mavericks at home because we accidentally beat the Memphis Grizzlies on the road. So Svi Mykhailiuk, who's been, honestly, arguably maybe the Jazz's 3rd best player as far as consistency goes, he's not going to play at all. Kevin Love's not going to play at all. Nurk's going to rest, not out for injury. He's not going to play at all. All these veterans with some wisdom of how to win are going to sit. And the Jazz thought maybe that'll be enough. And Keontae George is too good for that now. And Lauri Markkanen is too good for that now. And even when you get a player like Kyle Filipowski.
So I was told last night before all this happened, literally right before it started, and I was told they are going to hold on to that draft pick. And then I followed it up with, A, B, C, blah, 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 to which, the report, they are going to hold on to that draft pick, which is like hitting you upside the head. Yeah. Hey, stupid, listen to what I am saying. Listen to the words I am saying to you. They're going to hold on to that draft pick. And then you get the whole thing of what Austin Ainge said at the microphone, which can be quickly explained with, you asked him a question that can only be answered one way. His first official act sitting atop the Jazz pyramid should not be make the commissioner mad and get the owner fined.
Right.
So he said what he said, and he did say it, and people should be held accountable for their words. But context matters. Did you really think he was going to anger the commissioner and get the owner fined at his first press conference?
And I have no doubt the Jazz can pull the parachute and figure out how to hold on to this draft pick. After all, they are only 4 wins better than the third worst record in the NBA.
Knowing full well that everyone else is going to do that too.
But other teams are going to. So if you're going to do it, you're going to have to really seriously
How
commit
many
to it.
other teams? Minimum 8, I think. Minimum.
Yeah, I'm trying to
maybe
do it off
9
the
or 10.
top of my head. We can
I don't
pull up
have
the
to.
standings. Yeah,
I will pull up the standings then, and the Wizards are absolutely going to
Wizards
do it.
are doing it more than anybody.
The Pacers are going to do it.
I think the Pacers are going to do it. Maybe not at all costs, but
Really?
they've won, 6 of their last 10? Something like that? 6 of their last 12?
4
of 10.
4 and 6 in their last 10.
But they're winning games more than they were to start the year. And look, you can pull the plug in the second half of the season, as we've seen the Jazz do, but they aren't.
They beat the Wizards, the Kings, and the Bulls twice.
Yeah.
They've also lost to the Wizards.
Yeah.
So
By a lot.
Split 2 games with the Wizards. That's what.
But
2
you're right.
games
The
with
Pacers
Bulls.
are going to be in this conversation. No question about it.
The Charlotte Hornets.
Hornets are going to do it.
Okay, so that's 4 teams in the East. The Pelicans. No motivation for them. They should try to win, but maybe they're just not good enough.
They should get better throughout the year.
They've given up their pick, so they can't get one of the elite draft picks.
There's no reason for them to continue to pull the plug over the second half of the season. In fact, it will be better for their PR if they give the Hawks a worse pick.
Yes. The Kings.
Yeah, Kings' report came out this morning. They're trying to trade all their veterans.
That's 6.
Yep.
The Jazz would be 7. Dallas is 8. Clippers.
Clippers don't own their pick either. Goes to
Oklahoma City. Where else
Just
would
like
it?
the Jazz.
Where else
Yeah.
would it go? Right.
Yeah.
So the Clippers and Pelicans shouldn't, but maybe they're just that bad.
They might just be that bad.
You got 6 teams trying.
Yeah.
2 teams that are awful, even though they don't have the incentive.
And then there are teams
Bulls, Blazers.
Bulls, Blazers, and Grizzlies, who just lost John Morant last night and are already missing Zach Edey, could also pull the plug. They could trade John Morant. They could try and retool. So there are.
So we've got 6 for sure, 2 that might not be able to help themselves, even though they don't get the reward, and another 3 we'll have to wait and see, but I expect that probably at least 2 of the 3 will.
And right now, among those teams, the Jazz have the best record outside of the Memphis Grizzlies, and because they have a better record than the Portland Trailblazers.
Here's a crazy one for you. What about the Bucks?
If they trade Giannis, but I don't think they own their pick either. They traded all their picks to get Drew Holiday to build around Giannis. So they don't really have that motivation right now. But that's
a pick that didn't go to Oklahoma City. Phillies went to Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, I don't think it went to Oklahoma City. I think it may have gone to New Orleans, and then New Orleans may have sent it to Atlanta for DeJounte Murray.
Okay.
So what's interesting there is you could potentially, if you trade Giannis to Atlanta, you could get your pick back. And Atlanta actually is one of the destinations that really does make sense for Giannis. But to the bigger point, and locally pertinent, is that the Jazz are not positioned right now to get the draft pick. And if they want to get the draft pick, you probably can't win more than 25 games. And that means 15 wins over the next 4.5 months. I mean, that's 3 wins a month. That's nothing. I mean, that's going to really, you're going to really have to pull the plug on the season if that's where you're hoping to get. And look, you can win one of your final 20 games, and that certainly makes it easier by really, really tanking, by resting Lowry Markkanen for the rest of the season, whatever you have to do. Maybe you have to rest Keontae George as well. And if the pick is that important to you, which it probably should be, those are the steps you have to take. I hate talking about it. I don't particularly enjoy watching that style of basketball either, nor do most Jazz fans, which is why last season was so painful. I don't think anyone in the Jazz front office likes doing it. But as we saw last night, if you get a truly transformational player early in their career, and I'm not selling out Ace Bailey's stock. I still think Ace can get there. He's just probably closer to that Keontae George. It might take 3 years before you know. And the problem is if it takes 3 years before you know and he doesn't reach where Keontae George is, then you've missed. But if you can get one of these young 3 players in this year's draft, Darren Peterson, A.J. DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, and they are probably not as good as Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is the youngest player ever to score 40 in an NBA game. If they're even close to that level, and then you pair him with Lowry now, and you pair him with whatever this version is of Keontae George, and Ace Bailey turns into anything, suddenly you actually do have a roster that could compete for something serious.
You never know how players are going to grow and evolve over 5, 7, 10 years, which is what we're talking about. Because Cooper Flagg's 18, so we're talking about 23, 25, 28 years old. We don't know how that's going to work out. The thing Cooper Flagg did and why he's a cut above these guys until they prove otherwise, the fact that he got picked to go, before you even played in college, to go with that U.S. select team and go against the All-Stars who are the U.S. Olympic team. So you're in like dream team territory here, and you're so good that the guys who are going to be Olympians are like, oh, that dude's really good. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Devonta will end up, or Boozer or whoever, Peterson will end up being better. Maybe they'll go to more All-Star games and win more championships. Maybe.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think there's higher praise. You go into that setting. You're on the select team going against the core of the U.S. Olympic team, and they come out going, that guy's a real deal. They got every reason not to say that. When Shaq was coming up, they froze him out of an All-Star game.
Yeah.
Jordan, I mean, like the best of the best. Number of people Kobe ticked off when he was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys are sitting on 4, 5, 6 championships.
Cooper's the best American prospect since LeBron.
Yeah.
I mean, and has actually lived up to it on the floor. And, Zion had his moments, and there have been good players. But what we've actually seen in his NBA career, Cooper's the best we've seen in over 20 years. It's amazing. He's going to be as good as advertised. Again, to go back to the point of, he is justifying why teams tank. The ironic thing is that the Mavericks got him without tanking. The teams that tanked for him didn't get him. And now a lot of those teams are tanking for a second season in hopes of repeating the process to get the guy, having just been bitten by the snake that they carried.
Well, there you go. Awesome. And now the NBA's got to sell a league where somewhere between a quarter and a third of the teams aren't even trying to win.
And look, here's the weird part for the Jazz. Suddenly, this question has been, we know Lauri Markkanen's not number one on a good team. Or a great team, we should say. Good team, maybe. Number one on a great team, he's not. He's never won at a high level. He's never made the playoffs before. Jazz have given him the ball a lot. He can score 25 points a game. It doesn't necessarily translate to winning. Keontae George suddenly is putting himself in the conversation where if by the end of the season he's better than Lowry, you've achieved your goal, was to find somebody better than Lowry to put on your team. But is he...
And even if he isn't better than Lowry, just to have someone who's in the neighborhood makes it so much harder to defend, and it's why the tank is so attractive. Imagine if you got someone who was a legit top 10 talent. Asking a guy Keontae's size to be that kind of player, that is a big ask.
It is.
It doesn't happen very often in the NBA. Track Donovan Mitchell's career, what he's going through, what he's about to go through. It is really hard when you are under 6'6".
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it. I know Steph Curry's out there. It can be done. But under 6'6" in the NBA, super hard to be an elite player.
Absolutely. But now that you've got those two guys, if you could still add that third, now all of a sudden you're really cooking with something. You really have a design of a roster that can win. I don't want to say at the highest levels because Oklahoma City and Victor Wembanyama exist on the planet, but you're far closer than maybe you even were with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell because they never truly had the third guy.
There's Ben Anderson. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.